So, welcome everyone to DCD Talks. My name is Stephen Warren. I'm the CTO of Data Center Dynamics, and we have an absolute pleasure today that we've brought back one of the great industry leaders for us, but also someone who's been on DCD Talks. And the requests for more information has been absolutely wonderful. And I'd like to introduce Calvin Nicholson. He's the senior director of product management at Legrand. And it's such an honor to have you with us again, Calvin. And I'm just so excited because we've had a lot of questions from people who've heard you in the past, really talking about what's going on around the PDU data and the diagnostics for reporting systems and increasing that uptime availability. But we're going to get to that in a moment. First, Calvin, thank you so much. But I've got to ask, why are so many people asking about this? We've had a flood of requests to get you back, to get more information. Calvin, what's happening right now in our industry that this is occurring?
Well, I appreciate that, Stephen. So what's really happening, and it's funny, I think a lot of us kind of take it for granted within the data center market, because you think about all the money spent really on the infrastructure and making sure that there is good quality power, coming in and being used within the facility. But what's really happening, and I don't know if some of it may be tied to edge or some other things, but a lot of our customers have looked at the power that they're getting at the device level, at the cabinet level where we're located, and they are seeing some issues. So, especially globally. So to just poo-poo the power and say, oh, it's conditioned and everything's fine, it's not really true necessarily in the data center. And then, of course, within the devices themselves in the cabinet, with these switch mode power supplies, they're creating a lot of harmonic distortion and issues as well. So it's really the fact that you just can't assume anymore based on power type, power quality, location, everything else, that you've got really good quality power that's really being distributed through your devices within the rack cabinet.
Calvin, I've got to ask you, you brought up that key phrase, power quality, which everyone is asking about. And people have spent a tremendous amount of money on infrastructure, and there's so many issues going on. Could you begin to take us through this next generation PDU, if I could call it that, and in terms of what's happening with new features and the way that you're actually deploying this? Because you've been hearing back from customers about their requirements, their issues, their concerns, their challenges, which you just talked about. But what are the key features, sir?
Yeah, so our customers and we're in constant touch with them. First, on the new platform itself, Stephen, this would already be out if it wasn't for minor things like pandemics and chip shortages and stuff, and what we're calling our G4 platform. And you hit the nail on the head. We're really addressing what our customers want. They want more diagnostic information. They want more power quality information. And we've really done that a bunch of different ways. So if you look at the base design, first off, we're increasing the accuracy. So we've totally updated design. We've updated the A to D. We're going to be going from a 1% accuracy to a 0.5% accuracy, which is really going to be revolutionary. And some of that we need to do to add these power quality metrics. And then the power quality metrics themselves are really around voltage and current, harmonic distortion, crest factor, distortion on power factor, to really understand how bad the inefficiencies are. So all those things are going to give you information about what's going on within your facility. What's interesting about it is really how you use it. So let's take maybe just a few examples. Okay, so typical use cases within a data center. Let's say you have an overcurrent condition and you blow one of the branch breakers, right, within the PDU itself. So typical use case with that would be, okay, I show up at the PDU, I figure out which branch had the problem, I unplug everything, I reset the breaker, then I plug everything back in. And a lot of times, of course, this has to be smart hands. And then they see which device blew the breaker because it blows it again. Then I have to go back and unplug everything and figure out which device really was the problem. With new tools today, we're going to be able to tell you it was outlet 13 and therefore which device it was. Upon a power event, really at the outlet or at the in-feed level, we're going to do a waveform capture, and you're going to be able to see the voltage and current of that waveform and what actually happened at that event. And so it's just going to save you a huge amount of time and effort and understanding the problems and what happened in a situation like that. And the cases are really endless. That's just really kind of one example of the type of power information and diagnostics that we're delivering. That's, of course, going to help our customers increase their uptime.
A tremendous amount of innovation, but I love your expression, revolutionary. It is. The accuracy level is fantastic. Calvin, can you talk about some of this advanced power metering a little bit further in terms of what type of APIs are available? Can we actually do this remotely? Is there capability of tying this in with the other systems that and solutions that you currently have? And with that, are there any other features around the power quality? For example, taking a look at minimum or maximum requirements or AC sampling or things like that. Can you talk about it further, please, sir? But really importantly is people are asking about the management capability of it. Can I manage it remotely, or do I need to be there?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's huge today, right? I think the world is slowly returning to normal. I don't even know what normal is anymore. I really hate that term. But of course, you can do a remote. We continue to advance our APIs. We've got a standard JSON-based REST API. And then we've also added the new Redfish API through DMTF, which I think you're probably familiar with. And really the concept of kind of do the work once and deploy many, right? So once that Redfish API is implemented, any device that's Redfish API, you can plug in and start getting data from, right? So the tools are there to do a remote because that's what our customers are doing today. If we tie it back to the diagnostic information and being remote and again trying to solve problems, we're looking at things like dips and swells just in general, both on in-feed and out-feed on voltages. We're looking at min-max for the sensors, and that's both the regular sensors and the power sensors. So, a good use case there would be, I want to install a new server, right? Well, I may know the voltage draw at that particular point in time, and that's interesting and nice to know, but was, Black Friday or whatever my actual worst case. So we can look at this min-max data, we can determine safely over the last year or however long you want to go back what the min and max draws actually were, and therefore that you are capable of safely installing that server, whether it's a power constraint or a temperature constraint or whatever, because we can look at worst case. And with all these features, whether it is a dip or swell, or it is a breaker diagnostics, or it is min-max, we can do waveform captures of those as well. So we can do them automatically on event and store those, or also you can manually activate a waveform capture if you're just curious and you want to see the information, right? You can just go in, activate it, stores the capture, take a look, see what the distortion is of the waveform, see where your problems are coming from, right? And narrow down your device or whatever it happens to be. So the diagnostics ties in directly with the remote monitoring, ties in directly with the new diagnostics, and really is a kind of a holistic system that gives you the information that you need to manage your cabinet, manage your devices, and therefore manage your data center, because we all know, roughly 40 to worst case 55, 60% of the power used in the data center is in the cabinet itself, right? So why would you not be looking and doing these kind of things right where all the power is being used?
And boy, it's so funny. People say, I've always got that B side, but there's a problem. They both have to work. They both are mission critical. And you're so right when you say you've got to really be worried about the power to the entire rack, A side, B side, the entire system. It's all mission critical. We're in the 100% uptime business, aren't we? So, Calvin, I've got to ask you if I could. I know that Legrand and yourself are under a tremendous amount of NDAs. Information is privileged these days, both because of rules and regulations, but because of client confidentiality. But Calvin, can I ask you, please, sir, some examples of things that you're doing these days with clients that they've requested your help, or specific project examples that you can speak about? And I'd really appreciate that, because folks are asking, hey, I want help. How do I ask for it? And what are people asking for these days? So please, sir, over to you, Calvin.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Stephen. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, certainly some of these features were IP protecting and doing some things. And so, we can only kind of go to a certain level. And a lot of that, luckily, a lot of that IP has really already been filed. But it really gets back to the use case and something that I think the Green Grid said a long time ago. And if you're not monitoring, then obviously you can't manage it and see what your problems are. So they want to understand the problems. They know that the panacea of the power being perfect is just not there. So without getting separate meters or renting them or clamp on meters or going above and beyond to try to understand what's going on, can I know day to day what's going on, where the device is really being used, track that information, log that information, and be able to dig that up, whether there's a problem or whether you want to actually be proactive and be preventative, right? Because that's really where it's going today. It's not just, if there's a big problem, it's already too late, right? So by having this information, looking at the power quality, looking at your dips and swells, understanding when that's happening, what else is going on in your facility, you can be proactive. You can prevent problems before they occur. Of course, you get back to the uptime issue, right? And all these are handled by total harmonic distortion and crest factor and harmonics for power factor and all the different things we've added within these tools. And it's online, available remote, measuring 100% of the time, and you really know what's going on within your facility. And that's really what our customers are asking for today.
It's interesting. You spoke about it's not only identifying what the problem is, but also then eliminating what the problem is. So you're so correct when you talk about where the Green Grid came from. You cannot manage that which you are not measuring is so true. And I've got to ask you, I'm very sorry to say this, but we've almost run out of time. Could you take the last few minutes, please, and talk about how companies can work with you? Big question from folks. How do I get in touch with you? How do I reach out? What's available? Also, do you have those wonderful design teams and engineering folks such as yourself available to support? But also, thank you very much for the time that you've given us, Calvin. I do appreciate it. So please take a few moments to try and bring us all back to where we can work with you together.
Okay, I appreciate that, Stephen. So first off, this is a product line. We are talking about these solutions now, especially to our bigger customers, giving our roadmap, getting people to understand kind of where we're going and what we're doing. Almost to a customer, it has been, this is what we've wanted. You read our minds. This is where we're trying to go. Not only are these solutions going to be available in the new product lines, but of course we do a lot of custom work, right? So when we talk to the customer, I think we have a lot of success because most of our people are very technical. And I know it's an oxymoron to say the salespeople are technical, but a lot of our people really are. And we put them through some data center training in that. So we'll look at the solution. If we don't have something that's off the shelf, and I know that's becoming more and more important, right? And we do have a very wide breadth and depth of products. We can also look at some custom solutions or some smaller tweaks as well to make sure that you can really take advantage of all this continuous AC sampling and all the really neat things that we're doing today. Ultimately, Star Maker, make you look good, avoid problems, increase uptime, and really prevent issues, from happening in the future.
Well, Calvin, thank you. And to everyone at Legrand and the entire family of Legrand, thank you for your incredible time. I think we may be asking you back again for more help. So thank you, sir, very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Steve.